well, this looks good, but we really need something to brighten it up at night. You know, give it a little bit of a party atmosphere. The things about the Roadtrek, it does have an outside receptacle. And that means that sprucing it up a little bit at times can be, sprucing it up might be a little difficult, like a little ambient lighting. So I've decided I'm going to add an outside receptacle. In power, which currently the only way I can get AC out of the camper van is to open a door. And the whole reason for doing this is because the ground fault protected 120 volt receptacle on the stand, which is kind of like this one. I'm using the 30 amp, and in mine this particular ground fault protector won't reset. Not unusual. Not unusual when we have outdoor equipment, which unfortunately copper gets damp or corrodes and whatnot. So here we go. I'm going to string that cable through, and for that purpose I bought these things. And but my receptacle will not violate the integrity of the shell. What I have here is a 16 gauge 3 conductor cord. Picked up the hardware store. It has a plug, but it needs a connector. I bought an 8-footer because it gives me ultimate flexibility, and I bought this connector, which I'm going to attach. But before attaching, I'm going to run the cable from this location, and there's an internal power box, through here underneath the chassis, and then into the coach battery compartment, which is where I'll tie it up. And what this is going to buy me is I'll be able to close the side door without disconnecting power, which currently the only way I can get AC out of the camper van is to open the door. I slid the cable through here. As you can see, it's underneath this piece of rubber. And you can close the door here, and I'll tie this back when I'm finished. This is a solar panel cable. That cable goes to the solar charging system for the batteries. But, well, let me tie it all up and then we'll continue. Of course, you don't plug this power cord in until you've completed it. I've tied the cord up with some Thomas & Betts tie wraps, which are made in USA. I'm going to cut off the excess material. There we go. Now I'll rotate these, because those little ends are sharp. So what I do is I rotate them, in this case, so they're not where someone's little toe might stub, because that would be an ouch. But this is the point at which, if you're not really familiar with 120 volt electricity, you might want to get an electrician involved. We need to attach this end to the 8-foot cable, which I've pulled through the camper van. Here's the end. Now there's 3 wires, green, black, and white. One of them's a ground, one of them's the hot, and the next one's a neutral. If you're not familiar with any of this, you probably should get an electrician involved. And those 3 connectors are very specific. If you go into this connector, you see a green screw in this one. They aren't all made like that. It's connected to this large circular receptacle. That's the ground. Corresponds to the green wire. Then you have another choice. You've got this side and you've got this side. So you've got a brass screw and you've got a silver screw. If you look at this, again, those are specific. One is a little wider blade. The other one's a short blade. You better know which is which before you do any work. And I'm not going to tell you, because I'm not going to take the responsibility. So at this point, I'm going to hook it up because I know what I'm doing. And if you're not sure, then you better get an electrician involved and talk to him about how to connect up one of these. Sorry That's the way it is. Welcome to the United States of America, land of attorneys and politicians. Okay, so we're ready to plug it in. I've assembled the outside connector, and this, as you can see, is a ground fault protected receptacle, 120 volts, perfect. One little loop here, that's for strain relief. And normally this would be unplugged. Going outside, this is what we've got. It's not quite complete. I've tied it up with a loop again for strain relief. Okay, now let me complete something. I said I wouldn't say how to connect this, and that's because you need to have someone who's electrically qualified to do this. Now, I've had someone who is qualified to do this and it is properly connected. So there's minimal likelihood of electrocution, damage, and so on because it's been done properly. And that's what you need to do, find somebody who's qualified. Okay. Sure. Okay, spouse wants to know if it's safe. Yes, it's safe. All right, I've connected up a digital voltmeter, and there you go, 121.5 volts. So we're good. All right, our outlet is hot. Now, there's one thing about storing this cable underneath here, which is where it'll be when we're traveling. It's going to be stored here. I'll tie it up. But it's going to be subjected to road salt and other things. You can see this is corroding, and of course that's going to do the same thing to the copper. So I'm going to have to protect the end. That's essential. If I don't do that, this will be useless. We'll be traveling down the road and it'll be all corroded. When we plug things in, it won't work. So that's the last step for this, but I'm done for now. I purchased a three-way adapter here, and did this for one important reason. It's got this nice bright LED green light which tells me that the power is on, and that's something we want to know. So that's it. We're going to start connecting goodies up now. Well, canopy's up, side screen windows in, and the lighting is up. We'll see how that looks tonight. And of course, there's my handy dandy inside-outside extension cord, which is currently unplugged. And as I said earlier, it's plugged into a ground fault protected receptacle, so it should be safe.